Have you ever paused to ponder why some individuals grasp concepts swiftly while others struggle? Or perhaps why certain teaching methods ignite a spark of understanding in some students, but not in others? Welcome to the intriguing world of educational psychology, where such questions find their answers. Dating back to the late 1800s, educational psychology is a relatively young subfield that has experienced a tremendous amount of growth in recent years. The early interest in this field was primarily fueled by educational philosophers, with many considering Johann Herbart as the father of educational psychology. Herbart was a strong believer in the power of a student's interest in a topic, arguing that it significantly influenced the learning outcome. He proposed that teachers should consider a student's interest and prior knowledge when deciding the most appropriate type of instruction. Educational psychology seeks to answer questions like, how do children acquire skills? When is learning more effective? What factors aid the learning process? How can we quantify learning? Are there efficient methods of memorizing? Why do we forget? And can we improve our memory? Does studying one language, for instance Sanskrit, aid in learning another like Hindi? As a science of education, educational psychology is both scientific and natural. Like a physicist or biologist, an educational psychologist conducts investigations, gathers data, and reaches conclusions. But it's not just a natural science, it's also a social science studying humans and their sociability. Educational psychology is a positive science, dealing with facts as they are, not as they ought to be. It studies a child's behavior as it is, making it an applied science. It applies psychological principles to the field of education, studying the behavior and experiences of pupils. It draws heavily from areas like developmental psychology, clinical psychology, abnormal psychology, and social psychology. This field is ever evolving, with new research continually enhancing our understanding of the child's nature and behavior. It's an applied, positive, social, specific, and practical science that focuses on the behavior of individuals in the educational sphere. The scope of educational psychology is vast, but at its heart, it is about the learning process. Scope of educational psychology. 5 major areas covered by educational psychology are A. The learner. B. The learning process. C. The learning situation. D. The teaching situation. Evaluation of learning performance. E. The teacher. After understanding the learner and deciding what learning experiences to provide, the next step is to delve into the learning process itself. The scope of educational psychology is ever growing due to constantly researches in this field. The following factors will indicate the scope of educational psychology. 1. Human behavior. It studies human behavior in the educational context. Psychology is the study of behavior, and education aims at modification of behavior. Hence, the influence of educational psychology has to be reflected in all aspects of education. 2. Growth and development. It studies the principles governing growth and development. The insight provided by the study will help in scientifically planning and executing learner-oriented programs of education. 3. The learner. The subject matter of educational psychology is knitted around the learner. Therefore, the need of knowing the learner and the techniques of knowing him well. The topics include the innate abilities and capacities of the individuals, individual differences and their measurements, the overt, covert, conscious as well as unconscious behavior of the learner, the characteristics of his growth and development, and each stage beginning from childhood to adulthood. 4. The learning experiences. Educational psychology helps in deciding what learning experiences are desirable, at what stage of the growth and development of the learner, so that these experiences can be acquired with a greater ease and satisfaction. 5. Learning process. After knowing the learner and deciding what learning experiences are to be provided, educational psychology moves on to the laws, principles, and theories of learning. Other items in the learning process are remembering and forgetting, perceiving, concept formation, thinking and reasoning, problem solving, transfer of learning, ways and means of effective learning, etc. 6. Learning situation or environment. Here we deal with the environmental factors and learning situations which come midway between the learner and the teacher. Topics like classroom climate and group dynamics, techniques and aids that facilitate learning and evaluation, techniques and practices, guidance and counseling, etc., for the smooth functioning of the teaching-learning process. 7. Individual differences. It is universally accepted that every individual differs from every other individual. This idea has been brought to light by educational psychology. 8. Personality and adjustment. Education has been defined as the all-round development of the personality of an individual. If educational has to fulfill this function, all instructional programs have to be based on the principles governing the nature and development of personality. 9. The teacher. The teacher is a potent force in any scheme of teaching and learning process. It discusses the role of the teacher. It emphasizes the need of knowing thyself for a teacher to play his role properly in the process of education. His conflicts, motivation, anxiety, adjustment, level of aspiration, etc. It throws light on the essential personality traits, interests, aptitudes, the characteristics of effective teaching, etc., so as to inspire him for becoming a successful teacher. 10. Guidance and counseling. Education is nothing by providing guidance and counseling required for the proper development of the child. This is very true, especially in the light of the extremely complex and problematic situation one has to face in the fast-growing world. Educational psychology has come to the rescue by developing principles and practical measures helpful for providing effective guidance and counseling. We can conclude by saying that educational psychology is narrower in scope than general psychology. While general psychology deals with the behavior of the individual in a general way, educational psychology is concerned with the behavior of the learner in an educational setting. This process is where educational psychology truly shines, offering insights that can transform the educational journey for countless learners. In conclusion, educational psychology is a multifaceted field that blends science, philosophy, and education to better understand how we learn and how this process can be improved. Its nature is scientific, it's an applied and positive social science, and its scope is broad, focusing on understanding, predicting, and controlling human behavior in an educational context. The journey through the landscape of educational psychology is a fascinating one, filled with rich insights and endless opportunities for discovery.